Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Kriya Yoga.
Oh, yeah.
But more specifically,
Okay.
into the life of a very interesting and fascinating guy, Lahiri Mahasaya.
Absolutely.
And you've given us a lot of sources to work with this time, huh?
Yes.
We got Wikipedia, we've got some excerpts from Yogananda's autobiography,
Right, yeah.
even have some other biographical snippets,
Mm-hmm.
and all of it really paints a rich picture of this.
It really does.
Really influential figure.
Yes, what strikes me is how he just defies the stereotypical image of a yogi.
Uh-huh.
He lived this surprisingly ordinary life.
Really?
Really blending that spiritual practice
Yeah.
with worldly responsibilities.
That already piques my interest.
Right.
So, okay,
Yeah.
for our listeners who may not be familiar with Kriya Yoga,
Right.
it's basically a system of inner practices
Mm-hmm.
and mainly breath techniques
Mm-hmm.
that are designed to kind of speed up spiritual growth.
Yes.
But we're not going to get too technical on this.
Right.
We're really going to focus on the person behind this practice.
Absolutely.
A man who brought Kriya Yoga to the world.
Exactly. His story is just full of twists and turns. Starts in 1828 with his birth
Wow.
as Shyamacharan Lahiri in a village called Gurney in what was then Bengal presidency.
So we're starting at the very
At
beginning.
the very beginning.
This is like we're unearthing some kind of hidden history here.
It really is.
Yeah.
And his early life was marked by both challenges and blessings,
Yeah.
Losing his mother at a young age, that must have been devastating.
Yeah, of course.
And then the family moving to Varanasi,
Right.
that added another layer of complexity to his upbringing.
Varanasi.
Yeah.
That's the city of spiritual significance.
Oh, absolutely.
A place that's steeped in these ancient traditions.
Yeah.
It's almost like the setting itself was kind of preparing him for his future role.
That's a really great observation.
Yeah.
And you know what else? His education was surprisingly diverse.
Okay.
He mastered Urdu, Hindi, Bengali, Sanskrit, Persian, even French and English,
Wow.
along with deep Vedic studies.
This guy's well-rounded.
Very well-rounded.
Yeah.
It wasn't some secluded mystic.
Right.
This was someone who was very much engaged with the world.
Yeah. Completely.
And it's interesting how his life then takes what we might consider a very conventional path.
Okay.
He marries Kashimoni in 1846,
Uh-huh.
raises a family, and works as an accountant
Oh, wow.
for the British Indian government.
An accountant.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a point that often gets overlooked.
Yeah, I could see that.
He challenges the notion that spirituality demands renunciation of worldly life.
Right.
He was a householder yogi,
Mhm.
demonstrating that enlightenment can be achieved right in the midst of daily responsibilities.
So he's a husband, he's a father, he's an accountant,
He's all of those things.
living a very seemingly ordinary life.
Yeah, exactly.
But then something extraordinary happens in 1861.
In 1861,
Right?
Yes.
He gets transferred to Ranikat,
Yes.
a town nestled in the Himalayas.
Beautiful place.
Yeah.
And that's where things take a dramatic turn.
Okay.
It's in Raniket that he has this legendary encounter
Uh-huh.
with Mahavatar Babaji,
Oh, here we go.
a figure shrouded in mystery and
That's-
revered as an immortal yogi.
Now, who was this Babaji, and what kind of impact did this meeting have on Lahiri Mahasaya's life?
Okay, so Babaji is said to be this ageless master residing somewhere in the Himalayas,
Wow.
guiding spiritual seekers for centuries.
Wow.
He's a key figure in the Kriya Yoga lineage.
Okay.
And it's Babaji who initiates Lahiri Mahasaya into the ancient techniques of this practice.
So this wasn't just a casual encounter.
No, absolutely not.
This was a real pivotal moment.
A transmission of ancient wisdom.
Wow. Okay.
And, Babaji didn't just teach him the techniques.
Uh-huh.
He also gave Lahiri Mahasaya a very specific mission
What's that?
to bring Kriya Yoga to the world, to make these powerful practices accessible
Okay.
to sincere seekers from all walks of life.
So this is where his public life as a guru
This is it.
really began.
This is the beginning.
So he returns to Varanasi,
Yeah.
not just as an accountant,
Right.
but also as a bearer of this ancient tradition.
Exactly.
What happens next? How does he start to fulfill this mission?
So he starts initiating disciples,
Okay.
but not in the way that you might expect.
Oh, really? How so?
He breaks with tradition,
Uh-huh.
and he welcomes people from all faiths and all backgrounds,
Really?
Hindus, Muslims, Christians, everyone.
Wow, okay.
Even crossing those rigid social boundaries
Wow.
that defined India at the time.
That's surprising, especially considering the social climate of the 19th century.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think motivated him to be so inclusive?
Well, it seems he just believed in the universality of spiritual truth.
Uh-huh.
He saw Kriya Yoga as a path for everybody,
Yeah.
regardless of their beliefs or their social status.
This is already painting a picture of a very unconventional guru.
Unconventional, yes.
Someone who was way ahead of his time.
Absolutely.
So he's working a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
He's teaching Kriya Yoga.
Yeah.
He's breaking social barriers.
Yes.
And he's actively engaging with the community.
It's a busy guy.
Yeah, how did he juggle all this?
Right. It speaks to his dedication, doesn't it?
It really does.
He wasn't just teaching Kriya Yoga, he was living it.
Huh.
He formed study groups. He even organized these things called Gita assemblies,
What are those?
where he would share his insights on the Bhagavad Gita.
So he's really immersed in both the practical and philosophical aspects of
So
spirituality.
it was all in.
Yeah, and it sounds like he was creating spaces for learning and growth.
Exactly.
But amidst all of this, did he still maintain that ordinary life?
He did.
That groundedness that we talked about earlier?
Yes.
You know, the family,
Oh, absolutely.
the job, all of that.
Yes, and his personality was far from what you might expect from a traditional guru.
Yeah.
Really?
He was known for his humility,
Okay.
often bowing to his students, even touching their feet.
Wow.
He shunned titles and formalities. He preferred just simple connection.
Wow, so he almost flipped the whole guru-disciple dynamic.
Kind of, yeah.
He wasn't demanding reverence, he was offering guidance
Exactly.
and support.
Yeah.
That makes me even more curious to hear about his unique teaching style.
Well, that's a perfect place to pick up next time.
Okay, great.
You'll see how Lahiri Mahasaya's approach
Yeah.
challenged conventions and paved the way for a more accessible and integrated path
Okay.
to spiritual realization.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Okay, so we have this image of Lahiri Mahasaya, this family man, this accountant, this humble guru, kind of breaking those social norms left and right.
Right.
It really sets the stage for a unique approach to teaching, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So to really understand that, we need to go a little bit deeper into Kriya Yoga.
Okay.
But again, we're not turning this into a yoga class or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Grasping kind of like the essence of what these
Yeah.
techniques are about
Yeah.
will really help us understand what he was sharing with the world.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
give me the Kriya Yoga for Beginners rundown.
Kriya Yoga for beginners.
What are the core principles here? What makes it so special?
Okay, so at its heart, Kriya Yoga is about harnessing the power of prana,
Okay.
which is that vital life force that flows through all living beings.
Okay.
And it uses specific techniques mainly focused on pranayama or breath control
Right.
to regulate this flow of prana.
So it's not just about like breathing deep or something.
No, there's more to it.
Oh.
There's a more subtle energy at play here.
Gotcha.
And Lahiri Mahasaya really emphasized that Kriya Yoga is not just a physical practice.
Yep.
It's a pathway to kind of awakening deeper levels of consciousness.
I see.
So by controlling the breath, you're influencing the flow of prana,
Right.
and that in turn stills the mind
Okay.
and allows for this direct experience of the divine.
That makes sense. It's almost like using the breath as this bridge
Yeah, it's a bridge
between the physical,
for spirit.
the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
But he was also pretty adamant that you couldn't learn Kriya Yoga from a book.
Right. He was very adamant about that.
What was that all about?
So he stressed this crucial role
Uh-huh.
of the guru-disciple relationship.
Okay.
It wasn't just about learning the steps.
Yeah.
It was about receiving this energetic transmission.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Energetic transmission. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Okay, so he believed that the guru, having mastered these techniques and the states of consciousness that they lead to,
Right.
could then awaken those same states
Wow.
within the student through initiation.
That's pretty mystical.
It is. It's like a transfer of energy,
Yeah.
a spark that ignites the inner flame.
So it's not just information. It's like an experience
It's an experience.
that you're getting from someone who's already embodied it.
Exactly. And Lahiri Mahasaya didn't have a one-size-fits-all approach.
Oh.
He actually customized his teachings
Wait.
and offered different levels of initiation
Okay.
depending on the student's readiness and their capacity.
So he was really in tune with where each person was
He was very intuitive.
on their journey and kind of guided them accordingly.
Absolutely.
So it's less of a rigid system, more of a personalized path.
Much more personalized.
Yeah. Did he have any favorite sayings or teachings that illustrate this?
Yeah, he often said, solve all your problems through meditation, exchange unprofitable religious speculations for actual God contact.
Wow. He was a straight shooter.
He got straight to the point.
Yeah, he wasn't messing around.
Yeah.
It's all about practicality.
Practicality, yes.
Yeah, getting that experience.
Experience, that's what he wanted.
Not just theorizing about it.
No theorizing.
Yeah, but if this was about achieving a direct experience of the divine,
Mm-hmm.
did he require students to, like, renounce the world or anything like that?
That's what's so remarkable about him.
Okay.
He encouraged most of his students
Ah,
to stay engaged in their families and their work lives.
yeah.
He saw no contradiction between spiritual practice
Okay.
and worldly responsibilities.
Again, very unconventional.
Very unconventional for the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he challenged those traditional paradigms
Right.
that often pit spirituality
Yeah.
against everyday life.
So he was saying you don't have to escape the world.
You don't have to escape.
You can be in it
You can be in the world.
and still have that spiritual life.
Absolutely. He believed that true spirituality should permeate every aspect of our being,
Yeah.
not just our time on the meditation mat.
Right.
He wanted his disciples to find that balance, that
Mhm.
integration between their inner and outer worlds.
It's like he was saying, don't just talk the talk.
Right.
Walk the walk.
Live your spirituality.
Live your spirituality.
And in every action, every relationship.
And that leads us to the legacy of Lahiri Mahasaya, right?
It does.
This emphasis on integration, on accessibility,
Yes.
that kind of paved the way for Kriya Yoga to spread, right?
Exactly. And because of his decision to make these teachings more accessible,
Uh-huh.
Kriya Yoga is practiced all over the world today,
Wow.
continuing to inspire and transform countless lives.
It's amazing how one person's life
It really is.
can have that ripple effect, you know?
Huge ripple effect.
Yeah. But his story takes us beyond just the techniques, right?
It does.
There's this whole other layer of miracles and
Yeah.
extraordinary experiences
yeah.
that are associated with him.
Right.
I'm ready to hear about the more mysterious side
I think our listener is too.
of his life.
I think so. And those stories, while fascinating,
Yeah.
they need to be approached with a discerning mind.
Yeah, of course.
Always kind of keeping in mind the deeper spiritual principles
Right.
that they might be pointing to.
Okay, that sounds good.
And that's what we'll explore as we continue our deep dive.
All right, let's get to the mysterious stuff.
Yeah.
Our deep dive into Lahiri Mahasaya wouldn't be complete
Right.
without talking about
Great.
the stories of miracles and all these extraordinary phenomena that are associated with him.
Right. And it's important to remember
Yeah.
these stories, while captivating,
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't just be taken at face value.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's important to see them
Yeah.
as potential illustrations of
Uh-huh.
these deeper spiritual truths.
So not necessarily about proving supernatural powers or anything, but about understanding.
It's about the possibilities that open up
Yeah.
when we tap into a different dimension of reality.
I like that.
Yeah.
And some of the most compelling accounts come from his female disciples,
Yes.
like the incredible story of Abhoya and the train.
Oh, yes.
Ah,
Oh,
Abhoya.
I read about her in Yogananda's autobiography.
Right.
She was rushing to see Lahiri Mahasaya,
Yes.
but the train that she needed
Right.
was already pulling out of the station. Yeah, and in that moment of desperation,
Yeah.
she prayed to him with such intensity that the train inexplicably stopped
Right.
until she and her husband could board.
Wait, the train actually stopped.
The train stopped.
It makes you wonder if it was some kind of physical intervention or something happening
Right.
on a more subtle,
Maybe an energetic level.
energetic level. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to think about.
It really is.
And then there's that story of Abhoya and her 9th child.
Oh, right.
You know, she had lost all 8 of her previous babies.
Yeah, it's a very sad story.
Yeah.
And this time, Lahiri Mahasaya instructed her
Huh?
to keep a lamp burning
Yeah.
throughout the night for the child to survive.
Okay.
But both Abhoya and the nurse fell asleep,
Right, right.
and the lamp was about to go out,
Oh.
putting the child's life in jeopardy.
Yeah.
And suddenly, Lahiri Mahasaya appeared in the room,
Oh, whoa.
pointing to the fading lamp,
Really?
as if to remind them of his instructions.
Oh.
And as soon as the lamp was refilled,
Mm-hmm.
he vanished.
Wow.
And the child
It's
listened.
like he was bilocating, being in 2 places at once.
It's hard to grasp with our ordinary logic.
Right.
But, you know, these stories might challenge our rational minds,
Uh-huh.
but they highlight the potential
Yeah.
for this expanded consciousness
Yeah.
and the power of faith.
They really do.
Yeah.
And it's not just Lahiri Mahasaya.
Right.
He was also connected to these other extraordinary figures.
Yeah, like Trilanga Swami,
Nilanga Swami, yeah.
the legendary yogi of Varanasi.
Yeah, the one who could supposedly drink poison
Right.
with no ill effects and float on the Ganges for days.
And escape from locked prison cells.
Those stories are wild,
Wild, yes.
but they really point to
I do.
a level of spiritual mastery
Yeah.
that just defies
It defies our normal understanding.
our understanding. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mind-boggling to think
stand
about
up.
these possibilities.
Yeah, and the fact that Lahiri Mahasaya was close to him just
Right.
adds another layer of intrigue to his story.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What conversations do you think those two enlightened beings had?
I know, right?
That's a conversation I'd love to be a fly on the wall for.
Oh, me too.
But even without knowing the specifics,
Yeah.
it's clear that Lahiri Mahasaya
Yeah.
wasn't just a master of Kriya Yoga.
Right.
He was deeply connected to this lineage of extraordinary beings,
Right.
embodying a level of consciousness
Yeah.
that most of us can only dream of.
Yeah. And yet, despite all of this,
Mm-hmm.
he remained so grounded,
Yes.
so humble, so engaged in the world.
He was the real deal.
It's amazing.
It's a beautiful paradox.
It is.
And I think that's one of the most important takeaways from his life.
Okay.
He embodies this idea of integrated spirituality,
Yeah.
showing us that enlightenment isn't about escaping the world.
Right.
It's about transforming it
From within.
from within. Yeah.
So it's not about becoming superhuman. It's about becoming fully human,
Fully human.
bringing that spiritual awareness
Yes.
to every aspect of our life.
Exactly. He lived this principle,
Hmm.
balancing his inner practices
Right.
with his outer responsibilities.
Right.
He was a husband, he was a father, he was an accountant,
Right.
he's a teacher, a guru.
Yeah.
And he didn't compartmentalize these roles.
Right.
He integrated them,
Yeah.
bringing his spiritual awareness
Yeah.
to each one.
Yeah. It's like he was demonstrating that true spirituality
Yes.
is about living a holistic life.
A holistic life, yes.
Yeah. And not about isolating ourselves
Right.
or putting spirituality
Up on a pedestal.
up on a pedestal. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's such a powerful message for us today, isn't it?
It is.
Especially in a world that's often so fragmented
Yeah.
and chaotic.
Right.
How can we find that balance?
Yeah.
That integration
Between the inner
between our inner and outer world.
and the outer. Yeah. It's the question
It is.
that Lahiri Mahasaya's life
Yeah.
invites us to explore, right?
It is. It's about finding that stillness within,
Uh-huh.
that connection to our true selves,
Right.
and then letting that radiate out into our relationships, our
Right.
work, our everyday actions.
So not about seeking these extraordinary experiences, but bringing an extraordinary awareness
To the ordinary?
to the ordinary,
Like,
everyday
uh,
moments of life.
Beautifully said.
And that's what makes his story
Mm.
so enduringly relevant.
It really is.
It's not just this historical account.
Right.
It's an invitation, it's a challenge
Yes.
to live more consciously,
Yes.
to find that balance between inner transformation
Yes.
and outer engagement.
Absolutely.
And it's a reminder that we all have that potential
We do.
to embody this kind of integrated spirituality,
Yeah.
to be householders and yogis,
Yes.
to find that union of the sacred and the
Yeah.
mundane.
That's the true legacy of Lahiri Mahasaya. Right.
He didn't just teach techniques.
Yeah.
He transmitted a way of being,
Mm-hmm.
a way of seeing the world
Mhm.
as permeated with the divine.
That's a powerful gift.
It is a gift.
And it continues to inspire and
Yes.
transform lives,
It does.
generations later.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what final thought would you leave our listeners with?
A final thought
Something to ponder.
to ponder as they
Please.
go about their day.
Okay, so I would encourage them to consider this.
Mhm.
How can they bring a little bit of Lahiri Mahasaya's spirit into
Yeah.
their own lives?
Yeah.
Where can they find that balance, that integration?
Right.
It might not involve miracles
Yeah.
or levitating on the Ganges,
Yeah.
but it can be just as transformative.
Absolutely.
It's about finding that inner spark
Yeah.
and letting it illuminate your path.
I love that. What a beautiful way to end this deep dive.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the life
It's been a pleasure.
and legacy of Lahiri Mahasaya.
Absolutely.
We hope you found it insightful, inspiring,
Yes.
and maybe even a little bit magical.
a little bit magical.
Till next time.